Hello and welcome to another episode of Chuchu as a Ranker, and on this episode we're going to be continuing our Albums of the Year list, and this time it's 2022. And yeah, 2022 was a pretty good year. Not much in the way of new artists breaking through on this list, but there's plenty of artists hitting unexpected peaks here. I mean, Christ, even I myself released a concept album about British folklore and culture that kicked off with a 20-minute prog rock epic, which is frankly insane. That 2022 source, people, it's potent. Links in the description if you want to check out the records I released this year. I know that you probably don't. Also, two brief housekeeping notes before we set off on this particular ranking adventure. Firstly, new for the channel are episode-related Spotify playlists down in the description in case you want a little taste test after the episode. And secondly, I have to say the show will be taking a short break for about 2 weeks over the new year, so I can finally have the chance to sit around in my underwear, finish God of War Ragnarok, and eat way too many snacks and be sick all over my new pajamas. So, without further ado, let's be complete rankers and rank up a storm. These are my personal top 10 albums of 2022. So, we're going to be kicking off this list with Fever Dreams Part 1 through 4 by Johnny Marr. So on this, Marr is conjuring up the ghost of the 1980s, specifically 1980s post-punk, and doing a damn good job of it. His guitar work and choices of production work really well on this, and it feels authentically retro, while adding a modern sheen. In fact, this is impressive enough that it might have actually climbed a bit higher up the list if it didn't suffer from the nagging fault of being over length. I mean, this has 16 tracks and runs 1 hour and 12 minutes, and that's just a bit too long. But the quality of what's on offer here is great. Receiver is a really awesome slice of Unknown Pleasures era Joy Division style post-punk. Hideaway Girl has some impressive roaring guitar work that feels like it's made to physically break your speakers. Tenement Time has a skyscraping chorus that is instantly memorable and catchy. Counterclock World has a gorgeous peak Murmur era REM jangle to it, while Speed of Love has a slinking bass line and some rhythmic guitar work and e-bells that recall How Soon Is Now. So yeah, this is just a great ode to the 1980s and a very good Johnny Marr solo record. Next up, we have Big Time by singer-songwriter Angel Olsen, which was her 6th LP. And here we find Miss Olsen adding a dash of country into the mix, as well as making the most direct and accessible material of her career thus far. And this is a really good record with some great production, a sense of epic grandeur, and of course Angel Olsen's fantastic booming voice. The way her voice juxtaposes the album's spacious, almost minimalistic compositions is pretty spectacular. Tracks like the building opener, All the Good Times, and the lilting country-inflected single Big Time are as catchy as Olsen has ever been. All the Flowers is fantastic with his finger-picked guitars and swelling strings, while album highlight Right Now is goosebump-inducing with its grandiose heft and cascading melodies. So yeah, Angel Olsen continues to impress on this and maintains her upward trajectory. Next up, we have Gods We Can Touch by Norwegian new age pop pixie Aurora, which is her second full-length LP. Although there are a duo of really long and important EPs in between her first two albums, so there is a slight bit of discography confusion going on there. Anyway, here we have Aurora taking elements of Björk, Enya and Kate Bush and fusing it with her superb knack of banging out gorgeous melodies, while also sprinkling in bits of shoegaze, dream pop and electronica into the mix. And it all coalesces into a delightfully dreamy and light LP that impresses with its consistency and emotive qualities. Highlights include the pulsing, catchy electro-pop of Cure For Me, the funeral-like organs and keys of You Keep Me Crawling that strongly call back to peak-era garbage, the sublimely weeping, folky ballad of Exist For Love, and the thumping, stormy electronica of A Temporary High. So yeah, this is just a really fantastic, slickly produced and atmospheric pop record. Highly recommended.
To
Next up we have Autofiction by Britpop comeback king Suigei, which is the band's 9th LP, and this is a pretty striking album by account of just how rocking it is. I mean, Suigei should be doddering about in a flannel robe and granddad slippers at this point in their career, but they ain't having none of it, instead making the most ferocious record of their discography. And they've done it really well, keeping up both the consistency and the pace. Opener She Still Leads Me On is fantastic, with its poignant lyrics directed at frontman Brett Anderson's mother. Tracks like Drive Myself Home and What Am I Without You pay homage to the band's history of atmospheric ballads. That Boy on the Stage has some really awesome sliding glam guitars, while album highlight Personality Disorder is a booming slice of post-punk that feels more than a little Interpol-esque, but in an extremely satisfying kind of way. So yeah, this is an exceptional late period album by Suigei and a very easy addition to this list. Coming in next, we have The Other Side of Make Believe by Interpol, which is the band's 7th LP, and balladeering is the name of the game on this particular album, as this is the most ballad-heavy record of the band's career thus far. And I've got no qualms with that, as I like a good ballad or two. And the record is consistent and has a great level of subtlety that rewards repeat listens. Highlights include the rolling pianos of Tony, the huge weeping melodies of Fables, the repetitive badass riffing on Mr. Credit, the stripped back fragile emotions of Passenger, and the awesome descending guitar attack of Grand Hotel. So yeah, although this is very much dead center of what is expected from Interpol, it still hits all the right notes and is another just great addition to the band's discography. So, we're going to be kicking off the top 5 with EBM by Editors, which is the band's 7th LP, and wow, geez, where the hell did this come from? I mean, Editors were a spent force, slowly drifting into self-parody and irrelevance, but here they're arriving with not so much a return to form, but like just straight up the best album that they ever recorded. And on this they turned pretty hard into EDM, hence the eye-rolling pun of the record's title, conjuring up the ghosts of Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys and Daft Punk to spectacular effect. I mean, they just knocked it out of the park basically. Every track on this absolutely thumps, making your toe tap for the entire duration of its 52-minute runtime. The choruses are all hooky, there's a cool dark post-punk atmosphere, and it features some awesome gleaming 1980s style guitar riffs that absolutely leap out of the speakers. So yeah, with crystalline synth bangers like Kiss, Karma Climb and Educate and Picaresque, this is a huge and delightful surprise from Editors and a very deserving addition to this list. Next up we have Blue Rev by Always, which is the band's 3rd LP and also their comeback after being away for 5 years. And here the band aren't really changing up their formula, but they are perfecting it, as in my opinion this is the best Always record to date, with the band crafting a pitch perfect shoegaze / jangle pop album with a superb level of consistency, and it's just stuffed with sugary highlights. Pharmacist kicks things off with an off-kilter flourish and giant chords that make the track sound massive. Easy on Your Own has a glittering pop chorus to sink your teeth into. After the Earthquake has some delightful REM style jangling guitar work on it. Belinda Says has an effortless Britpop glide, while the twitching keys and odd effects on singer Molly Rankin's voice makes Very Online Guy come jumping out the track list. So yeah, I mean this is just the sound of yet another home run by Always. Brilliant stuff. Coming in third place and taking home the bronze medal, we have Laurel Hell by Mitski, which is her 6th LP. And this record undoes a period of uncertainty surrounding Mitski, who seemingly had a bit of a breakdown after her last album, buckling under the weight of newfound fame and the pressures of expectation. She all but announced her retirement, basically. Thankfully, she managed to overcome whatever it was that was dragging her down, at least for long enough to put together and release this LP. And here we find Mitski taking more incremental steps towards mainstream pop, by retaining enough of the idiosyncratic weirdness that makes her music so delightful. Highlights on a short, sharp 32-minute outing include Working for the Knife, which has a buzzing darkness and some interestingly weird guitar work, Everyone with its pulsing 1980s inflected post-punk misery, Heat Lighting has a really engaging emotional build-up to it, The Only Heartbreaker is a glistening bit of stomping pop with a cool ascending guitar riff, while Love Me More sees Mitski singing, I need you to love me more, fill me up, fill me full up. Jesus, Mitski, steady on, love. You'll give an old man like me a heart attack singing filth like that. But yeah, I think Mitski absolutely smashed this LP. For me, this is her best work thus far and a more than deserving addition to this list. Silver medal time, and the silver medal is going to go to First Congregational Church of Eternal Love and Free Hugs, which is the 6th LP by Britpop survivors Kula Shaker. And here we have a 20-track epic that runs 59 minutes and is interspersed with spoken word interludes, which is enough to put the shitters up most people for sure. But mercifully, this turns out to be Kula Shaker on peak form, crafting an undeniable set of lovely melodic 1960s revival tunes that lean on bands like the Beatles and the Kinks for their inspiration. And the quality of consistency is pretty startling, with every track finding its proper groove, while the spoken word sections are delightful little comedy skits that work to add atmosphere and also to break up the record into more manageable chunks. Highlights on a stacked track list include the bouncing 60s rock of Whatever It Is, I'm Against It, the slick Britpop of Gingerbread Man, the unforgettably catchy melody of Farewell Beautiful Dreamer, the build-up and glowering explosion of The Once and Future King, and the tender emotions of Shattered Bones. So yeah, this is the sound of Kula Shaker just hitting a peak that I never suspected that they had in them. This is just a really, really excellent record. So here we are at the top of the mountain, and the gold medal for 2022 is going to go to not just one album, but 3 of them, namely Profound Mysteries 2, and Profound Mysteries 3, which are Röyksopp's 6th, 7th and 8th LPs. But I think count as one. To be honest, I've never really come across a band attempting a project quite like this before, so it's a little confusing. But yeah, I mean, they all have similar titles and similar artwork, they're all released within the same year, and are obviously designed to be connected as part of the same project, so I'm gonna count them as one. And after 7 years away, Röyksopp have come thundering back with not only their best work, but a project that feels truly monumental. I mean, for me, this feels like the new benchmark for electronica. 30 tracks over 3 albums and 3 hours of music, and there's not a dull moment on any of it. To dive into the highlights extensively would take us all the way into the next year, so I'll limit myself to 3 per disc. From part 1 you have the slow burn rev up of the instrumental The Ladder, the Alison Goldfrapp fronted digital electropop bounce of Impossible, and the operatic beauty of the weeping piano ballad If You Want Me. Part 2 has the lilting melodies and always gorgeous vocals of Susan Sumfer on Oh Lover and Tell Him, the emotionally wrecked and sorrowful pianos of Oh Sorry, and the absolutely badass pulsating Vangelis style synth work of Some Resolve. Part 3 meanwhile has the flowering opener So Ambiguous, the pinpoint pop riffs of Me and Euphoria, which is such a bad pun that it just makes me want to instantaneously shit my cax in protest, and the awesome thunderous building cacophony of Speaking. And you know, I'm doing a disservice not to mention the mournfully depressing interludes of Nothing But Ashes and Remembering the Departed, or the blocky nostalgic 90s acid house of Control. Yeah, I've really got to stop myself there, or it will never end. So this is just a 5-star banger of a project and a true masterpiece of electronica in my opinion, and it is definitely my pick for the best album of 2022. And that's it, that's my 2022 list, but of course that won't be your list, so please sound off in the comments section and tell me your own top 10 of 2022. Feel free to check out the official Chuchu is a Ranker Spotify playlist for this episode, links in the description. Like, share, subscribe and all that other kind of YouTube jazz. Take care of yourself, but most importantly, just keep on ranking.